You're listening to the Never Heard of It podcast,
a Night Shift Radio original. Every week we bring you the good,
the bad,
the weird,
and lesser-known streaming movies.
Hit subscribe for new episodes every Thursday and Sunday. So we're back again for episode 3. Here we are at the Never Heard of It podcast with Casey has come back from the Superpod Hero Cast to talk about everything that Todd got wrong last episode.
Oh, well, hang on. Let me get my notebook out here. I mean, I just got this binder.
Did you have to buy a fresh notebook for that?
No, I just have it here in my office. I was just doing a little prop comedy work.
It was good. No, Todd did great.
No, he did great. The only thing I want to point out, so you're all saying that Fantastic Four won't show up because the creator said the Fantastic Four won't show up?
I didn't say that.
Salid, whatever the showrunner is, Ali Salid said it. Yep.
That doesn't mean that Reed Richards, Ben Grimm, Sue Storm, and Johnny Storm can't show up. The
He's not
Fantastic
wrong.
Four might not show up, but those four may show up as themselves.
And that's some like Kevin Feige wordplay right there. He was like, well, I didn't say Fantastic Four were going to show up. This was filmed a long time ago. You know, like this is another one of those like COVID filmed era. Like this wasn't filmed recently. This was filmed like a year or two ago.
Right. Mm-hmm.
So like, I just don't think that, they didn't have them cast at that point.
But they could have popped them all down to Atlanta, a la No Way Home, Doctor Strange 2, and recorded them being like, we got to do something about these Skrulls.
Yeah. I mean, I hold out that's just like very unlikely, but it would be a cool surprise.
I wouldn't hate it in any way, shape, or form.
No, not at all.
And that's the thing that I've been saying. Like, I am refusing to make predictions about this show because the whole show is about trying to like force you into guessing that something's right and being wrong about it. And I won't fall for the bait. I just won't do it.
The twist this episode, I'm like, are we supposed to believe this twist, or is this a twist on top of a twist? It's the very last moment of the episode, so we'll get there.
Yeah, no, I don't believe that at all.
Yeah.
Like, you know, for like even logistical reasons. We'll get into that. Mm-hmm. But anyway, so we're going to kick off this episode talking about episode 3 of Secret Invasion. We will be spoiling this episode, so if you have not watched it yet and you are concerned of spoilers, you know, hit subscribe, come back later, you know, on YouTube, on your podcast player of choice. Come back and listen as we talk about all of episode 3, Betrayal, which is an interesting, you know, it's betrayal, but it's a couple of different ways. You could think of it as a few people could fit the line of betrayal at the moment.
I want to pick the tiniest nit.
Go right ahead.
Because there is an emotional difference. It's not betrayal, the act. It's betrayed, the emotion, or the past tense passive act. I have been betrayed, and the only reason I correct is not because I actually care that that all versus Ed. It's that there is an emotional connection to that, and if you're seeing the title for the first time, who was betrayed? How were they betrayed? Why were they betrayed?
When were they? No, wait.
It is
versus betrayal is just a generic thing. Like everyone's betraying everyone here. Like we're just all fucking betraying here. But betrayed. I've been betrayed. It's very powerful. That's the only reason.
I would go one further and say this episode directly betrayed Casey. Because after the first episode being like, oh, it's kind of generic and blah, I wrote to both of you. I'm like, I'm so pissed I don't get to talk about episode 2 because it was great. There was so much good stuff in there. And then this episode, I was like, what the fuck? There's a couple
30 seconds or less, your impression of episode 2, since you didn't get to be here for that.
Oh my God. Like light years better than episode 1. Really great, powerful, they're like, yeah, we're doing a spy show, but we're also doing like a emotional conflict show. That was the overarching feeling of episode 2. Like everyone's emotions were at 11, and I loved every second of it. Then we were kind of back there, and then almost in episode 3, Ben Mendelsohn and Sam Jackson kind of were like, I guess our characters are still pissed at each other, so sure. But you could kind of feel like can we just be friends again? Can our characters be friends? I don't want to do this shit anymore.
The little bickering between the two of them got really old fast because they kept doing it. And I'm like, but like, because it was like, you're being unreasonable. Like, you're both being unreasonable. And they're both were like, well, I did all the work for you. And he's like, well, I saved your species. And it was like, you both did good things. Like, come on. Like, it's just like, it felt false. It felt like forced bicker.
And these two they have a lot of unresolved conflict. And like, we saw them just have a blow up over it. And then like, almost immediately they're back in the same room. And like, yeah, it's kind of forced, but also like, it kind of makes sense.
Yeah, like when they're in the pub and he's like, you can't yell at me like you did yesterday and then come ask me for help. And Fury's like, I didn't ask you for help.
The hell I can't.
No, not even that. He's like, I didn't say the words, I need your help. I love the pub scene, the car drive scene. I'm like, this is unnecessary. Just show up at Bob's residence and move on with the episode. This is unnecessary shit.
I actually like. I agree that the bickering part was kind of unnecessary in the car scene, but I liked the car scene for the additional bit of context it gives us into like what the fuck has been happening for the last 30 years. Like we got the like recruitment scene in episode 2 where Fury like gets everyone involved in to help him with Shield, but like we don't really get a sense. And like having not read Secret Invasion in the comics, I don't know if that's a big part of it or not. I am guessing probably not. But like we don't really get a sense of like why Fury was recruiting Skrulls and what for. And then Talos coming back in episode 3 and being like, we did all of this secret ass shit for you for 30 years. And like, what have you actually done for us?
It seems like everybody comes
take the credit
at Fury for that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, so two things about this. So, yeah, I agree with you. Like, that information would have been really cool to know episode 1 of like, hey, we've been your secret underground spy network for these past 30 years. I'd be like, okay. Because I was having the trouble in episodes 1 and 2 where I was like, so what did happen? Like, did he save Talos and then just fuck off and be a SHIELD agent and then come back to him later and be like, hey, how you doing? But like, no, Talos has been working with him this entire time. And I'm like, okay, that adds so much more context to all of the MCU.
Yes.
And specifically Nick Fury. And that's really interesting. But also, yeah, Nick Fury's kind of getting shit on by everybody. Because like last episode, he got Rhodey. This episode, he got his wife. And then he got Talos, like it was just like all of his only friends left are just kind of like, hang on, you know what? Actually, fuck you, Fury.
And Maria did it.
Like, I do feel bad for him.
Hill did it in Winter Soldier. And then in this.
And then this right before she died. Yeah.
So I know I just got through saying that I'm not going to make any predictions about this show. The one thing that I will say is that all feels very intentional to like further create this feeling of isolation around Fury.
Sure.
And it's kind of like, Fight, you and I have talked about a number of times how specifically in horror, there has to be some sort of isolating element that makes it possible for the protagonist to be in danger without being able to have an easy lifeline. Cell phone's not working, landlines are cut, their cabin in the woods, whatever. And here, like, we're seeing Fury becoming more and more and more and more isolated, and it's less like artificial means, like he has no means of contacting the outside world, and more people are shutting him out or turning on him. And so like I think we're going to see him becoming increasingly desperate and like feeling alone.
Yeah, I can see it. So, one of the big scenes of this episode is the one that was shown in the first teaser trailer, which was, Ben or Talos reaching across the table to Gravik, and then all the people around him turning into other Graviks. That was in the original teaser trailer. So that we finally got that scene, but, obviously they left out the end of that scene, and the whole thing is he, Gravik is basically using Gaia to try to leverage or threaten Talos, to which, Talos is like, don't talk about my freaking daughter. Like, what are you doing? And then, he finally crosses the edge when Gravik is like, you're lucky I haven't sent her back in a body bag. And Talos takes the butter knife and stabs it in through Gravik's hand, grabs him by the throat, really threatens him in that moment and leaves. But then we get the reveal. Talos pulls the knife through.
Little did he know.
Little did he know. Yep. So he pulls the knife through, and his hand heals extremis style. So we know that is that he has in fact done the treatment, which alludes to the scene we saw shortly before this, where he brings the council members in, shows them the machine, and literally says super Skrulls.
He said the thing.
And that they're going to do it. Yep.
Did either of you get the feeling when that scene was happening that like the council was in danger? Because like the way that like brought him in and everyone looked really nervous, and then Gravik comes in and does this whole speech, and like he's going to do something to them, and he doesn't. And I'm kind of glad that he doesn't, because it felt like that would have been a really weird turn and like really forced, but like they made it feel like it. And I don't know if that's to set up like just establishing this idea of like Gravik has the true power here and none of you are safe, or if that was just a choice just for this one scene.
Or did he? And we just haven't seen it yet. Like, we don't see the council leave. We see the human versions of them when Guy is trying to get the information for the launch code password.
True.
We see the humans. We never see those Skrull versions, and anyone else can take over. He may have...
That's true, because like we see the like Fox News pundit guy going on a rant,
Shooter
but like
McGavin?
that yeah, exactly. Yeah. That could have easily been a pre-recorded segment. So like it feels like, oh, this all happened, and now he's on the news like ranting and like trying to drum up support for Gravik's cause, but like maybe that already happened. So
yeah.
Yeah, I do like Fury's wife saying, like, how can you watch that Poison? And then he gets the saying wrong, right? Even a broken clock is right twice a day. Mm-hmm. Isn't a broken clock only right once a day?
Twice. Not if you use...
it is twice a day?
It's only once a day if you use 24-hour time.
Yeah, if you use 12-hour time. Yeah.
It's twice a day if you're a normal person.
Weird.
Shots fired at Todd. No, he's not even here.
Shots fired at literally half of the world.
Yeah,
and I'll do it again.
That's going to start World War III.
So that scene, I mentioned before we started recording, there were some acting choices. It was so obvious what the ending was going to be by her being like, fuck you, buddy. You left, you died, then you came back, and then you fucked off, and now, rah, and then she gets the call, and then she's like, I love you. Bye. I was like, oh, right. Okay. So she's doing something dastardly. Like, that is Spycraft 101, that whole scene.
Yeah.
I'm just like, ugh.
But then, the last phone call she gets in the end of the episode, somebody calls her and she's like, I want to talk to Gravik. And he's like, well, you're talking to me. And that voice was, of course,
Rhodey. Yeah, 100% Rhodey.
Which still makes me think he is not a Skrull. I'm actually leaning that he's not a Skrull now.
Oh.
I think Scylla, Vara, which one is it? Because Fury called her both names.
I think he sure did. I was confused by that.
Yeah, when he meets her in the diner, he calls her Scylla.
She's credited
sees
as
her in
Priscilla,
person,
as like her human name is Priscilla.
But he called her Vara.
So that might be her Skrull name. Maybe, because I don't think Priscilla is a Skrull name. Just given the Skrull names that we've seen, like Gravik and Talos and Gaia, spelled with a G apostrophe IAH. And Pagon. So I think Priscilla is her like human persona. And Vara is probably her Skrull name.
It was very confusing though, and I think it definitely deserves some sort of clarification. Because that both time I watched it, I was like, wait, is that a different person than the one? Because she's much younger. She's a different actress. Mm-hmm. So I was like, wait, is this a different Skrull that he was talking to each time?
Oh, it's not.
That's why I was really
thought
confused.
It was the same actress, just de-aged.
I think that might be the case because we do have the flashback scene that's like it's in the 90s. Like Fury is still young. It's obviously hot on the heels of the events of Captain Marvel and the recruitment scene that we saw in episode 1. So I think it's either she took a different face for that because there's the whole subterfuge of like, are you looking for someone? And like, yeah. And like, I don't think she'd appreciate me talking to you or whatever.
Where he says, where she says, what does she look like? And he goes, it depends on the day of the week.
Yeah. So like, I think it is entirely possible that like she did take a different face, but I don't think she was a different person.
Okay. It was just the naming thing threw me off. I was just like, I was very confused of who we were actually talking to. But I mean, again, minor complaint.
Does he call her Vara in that flashback scene?
No, he calls her Scylla in the flashback scene and Vara in today.
Okay.
In
when
the kitchen?
when he's in the modern world. Yeah,
Yeah.
in the kitchen he calls her Vara.
So, I mean, the flashback scene, they were in public, and so he would have been using her human cover name.
yeah, but I mean, Scylla doesn't sound very
It's
American, I guess.
I mean, who says she's American? It is a real
yeah.
name too. And I,
well, yeah, I mean, no, Priscilla is.
but
yeah.
no, Scylla. Like I have seen the name Scylla actually used.
So, in the diner, is that a Skrull diner? Because there's some weird things going on in that diner. Did anyone catch that there were hamburgers on display in what you would put a pie into display? And I'm like, that's not how hamburgers work.
What are you talking about, Casey? That's very normal human restaurant things to do.
You don't serve your hamburgers under a glass plate? Like what?
It was the craziest
You always have
thing.
your display burgers.
Yeah. I was just like, well, in some restaurants you might. Not in a greasy spoon, like
Right.
No, absolutely
20-seat diner. I was like, is this a Skrull diner? What's happening?
Maybe Wimpy owns that diner
Ooh, and those are the hamburgers for Tuesday?
for Tuesday. Yeah.
They're serving coffees out of a soda spout.
Yeah.
Serving it in a wine glass? Yeah, totally fine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Totally.
It's a very, very
Totally
Wimpy
normal human
thing.
food things.
Completely normal
Yes.
human food things. Please eat our human food. I mean, your food. I mean, I'm a Skrull.
For anyone under 30, that was a Popeye reference.
Oh.
So go ahead and Google that.
Google
I
Popeye.
learned recently that Popeye was based on a real person.
Yep.
And he looks exactly fucking like him.
Well,
That's awesome to know, actually.
Yeah, it's neat.
I mean, the best live action cartoon to live action movie ever made was Popeye.
so fucking nuts. It's so nuts.
That is a very bold statement. I'm not
He's
saying you're wrong.
large.
It's just a very bold statement.
Large. So large. Oh, God. What greatness.
Who was
So
Pluto
great.
in that?
Oh, I don't even remember. I don't even remember if he was anyone like known, but he probably was.
I am about 99% positive I've never seen this. I remember it being a thing. But
It's Altman, right? Isn't it Robert Altman?
I don't remember. My brain went to Goodman, but he was too young.
No,
for
no.
that.
Sorry, the director,
The Robin
Robert-
Williams one?
No, yeah.
Yeah, Robin Williams.
Oh my God. Yeah, I definitely haven't seen this.
Oh my God, Robin Williams as Popeye is flawless. This movie's bonkers and it's great. Who is that? That's not Tim Burton, right?
No.
Pluto was Paul L. Smith.
Oh, Paul L. Smith, of course.
Director was Robert Altman. Writers Jules Pfeiffer and E.C. Seeger.
I think E.C. Seeger is the creator of Popeye.
That sounds like it could be.
That sounds accurate.
He's known for Popeye, the Sailor Adventures of Popeye. It doesn't say anything about writing the comics, but I mean, yeah, like there's a bunch of shorts and stuff like that.
The cartoon.
Like, yeah, so probably.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Bree, do yourself a favor. Find this movie, watch it, and just go, what the fuck?
Noted.
Yeah. It's
In the best way.
wonderful.
And honestly, there's a good chance that I did see it when I was really young and just don't remember. I mean, that whole time in my life is a blur.
Yeah.
I think as soon as he fights the octopus, you're gonna be like, oh, right, I've seen
Fights
this movie.
an octopus?
He fights an octopus.
Oh, yeah.
Is it a big one or is it like a normal size?
Oh no, it's like a gigantic. It's great. Yeah.
Punches it in the eye. Yeah. It's pretty great.
Yeah.
I honestly don't know what would be funnier. If it was just a normal size octopus and he's like trying to fight it, or if it's a giant one.
Yeah.
So funny.
Anyway, so back to Secret Invasion. Nobody in Secret Invasion needs spinach, though. Although half of them kind of look like they eat too much.
Ooh, how dare you?
Because they're green.
Reptilian ass looking.
Before I shoot your gooey purple brains all over this place.
Yeah. Fury
Yeah.
has some good one-liners in this one.
Yeah.
He does. Bree, the one you were talking about where, before that, where he's talking to his wife and she's like, well, now what are you going to do now that you're retired? And he's like, well, I never was much for golf, but I was thinking of taking up revenge.
I love the pause. I was thinking of taking up revenge, and like his super smooth way. And I'm like, I see what he's doing there. He's doing revenge.
That whole scene leading up to her getting mad at him, you felt a married for 30 years couple. Like,
Yeah,
Totally.
the handing of the way she makes fun of his eggs and Poach, like, how dare you? Like, and then like when just the handing of the coffee. I'd love when people say thank you when they're handed stuff in acting, because that's what 95% of the human race does. When you are having a conversation and your hand is on, you're like, thank you. But when people
at least acknowledge it.
When people don't do it when acting, I'm like, you're pretending to be a real person, right? Like, that's be a real person.
Have you met a person?
Casey, it wasn't in the script.
So I feel like maybe part of the pub scene and some of the car scene was just like, hey, Ben and Sam, just, you got to get to this point, but ad-lib the rest of this. It felt so weirdly natural that I would, especially on Mendelsohn's part, that I was just like, is this ad-libs or just really good writing that Ben is zhuzhing up a little bit?
Maybe they just like really did piss each other off in real life and were just like trading barbs, but like in character.
I was in the better Star Wars movie. No, I was.
See, but I just think it's funny because like Fury gets off like basically fighting
Fury
with his wife.
With his wife? Whoa.
I mean, that was
what
also
version
implied.
did you watch?
I watched the one on Cinemax. That's the one you guys all watched. Right? So Fury, gets done with, fighting with his wife, and then immediately gets in the car with Talos and is just fighting with him too. So I just think that's another funny thing where he's just like, are you gonna dump on me too? Even makes that joke. It's like, yeah, because damn, people are just like riding on Fury like crazy.
But also, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Brie.
I was going to say, we do have a couple of really great nods to the young Fury that we met in Captain Marvel, and one of them specifically is with his wife, where like when like he's talking to Talos originally, he's like, do you have a wife? And like, no, but if she did, she'd call me Fury, and Priscilla calls him Fury.
Yes.
Nobody calls me Nick, and he says it.
And that's the other
that came
one.
up later.
We get the call back to nobody calls me Nick.
Did you all catch it as soon as Talos said, or Talos, it's a very Vash, Star Trek The Next Generation. Yeah. For the longest time, I thought it was Vash, and then I watched the episode again, and everyone's saying Vash. I'm like, is this my Mandela effect right now?
I thought it was Vash. I don't remember anyone calling her Vash. Oh,
but Card himself says Vash. He shows up and I'm like, why are you saying it like that?
Something like, listen, I'm not validating the Mandela effect, but something fucking happened between like our youth and now.
That's one of the points. Like, I distinctly remember it being Vash. And then she shows up and they're like, hi, I'm Vash. I'm like, oh, she says it wrong. And then the rest of the time she shows up, everybody says Vash. And I was like, I don't understand what's happening.
Data. I'm sorry, what? You're saying my name wrong.
One is my name. The other is
data.
not.
I love
What's the difference?
That scene has lived rent free in my head for decades now.
That's a great one.
I absolutely
it's such a great.
And also the last thing, the only reason Vash exists is because beyond her first episode is because Patrick Stewart was sleeping with her.
Well.
Good for both of them.
Good honestly. For both of them. Good for them. Patrick Stewart in his prime and the actress who plays Vash.
Yeah, get it.
Go right for it. So
get it.
So when Talos, what was my point?
When Talos calls him,
thank you. When he calls him Nick, I went, "Whoop, that's either not Talos or he's giving him a code."
Yeah, that's what. I actually thought the code thing to like go around the back or something like that. So that scene. So we learned that there's a plot. And actually Gaia learns this, which inevitably gets her killed, ?
Let's put a pin in that.
Not really, because it's Emilia Clarke. Obviously not, but
I don't know. We're halfway through the series. I don't see why they wouldn't kill her.
I was mildly furious at this because she just went through this whole thing where like Gravik is suspicious of her because only a couple people knew where the Skrull safe house was going to be after the caper and whatever, and the cover's blown, and he suspects that she fed the police the location, and she's like, nah, it definitely wasn't me, and he very obviously says the information out loud that no one else would know, specifically to make sure that she knows, so that when something goes wrong, he can trace it back to her, and she takes the bait immediately. And that just drove me nuts. Like, how are you that dense, Gaia?
Because they needed to kill her. I do love in that scene when he's like, "Is that what you would do?" And because she tries to blame it on someone else.
No, she says that it's an educated guess. He probably just made an educated guess and got it right.
Like, she said, "I would lie. I'm a good liar," and they have a stare down, like, "See, because I'm lying to you right now. Can you tell? I'm so good at it."
That's it.
That's the other thing. Because he calls her out for lying about knowing that, he's basically like, well, no one else but you. And she's like, that's impossible. I'm a really good liar. It's like,
wink.
That's what I'm saying. But you are lying to me right now.
But one of my favorite bits of acting that the actor who plays Gravik does is his, okay. Like, there's so much in
Kingsley
that, or with that, all right, or whatever he says in that scene. Like, okay, I'll play your little game. I know it's you, but I'll keep playing this game and maybe kill you at the end of the episode. I don't know.
I knew that was coming, and like that bothered me, because that was such an obvious plant. Like, it was very clear that they were following this thread of like, I know you betrayed me, so I'm going to feed you the information so that I know when you betray me again. And like, it was such an obvious thing, and it just felt like, why would this character fall for that?
Right, because if they succeeded in blowing up the UN delegates' plane, that is World War III, and we know that's not where the MCU is going. We're going into Kang Dynasty, maybe, and
in 10
Secret
years,
Wars, and all these things. And I'm like, we don't have time to do World War III. Like, that just can't happen. So the instant that started rolling, I was like, okay, so Gravik obviously told no one else his plan, and and also Gaia sucked at running away. Like, when he hands her dad the phone, I'm like, so that's obviously him. Like,
right,
go this way and then double back real quick. Like,
or when she just stops, like falls over when the car pulls up, instead of just like, I don't know, riding around it because you're trying to escape.
Yeah, there was
just like,
so if she's actually dead, I'm gonna be like, this is the stupidest death. This is the second stupidest death that she had as an actor. Like,
yeah,
that's right.
Agreed.
Game of Thrones.
It was a terrible death.
Game of Thrones is a terrible series, in my opinion, because it was all about being the worst person, and then nothing happens.
None of it mattered. None of it mattered. Yeah. Everybody was terrible, and then in the end, it just literally didn't matter that they were terrible anymore.
Because it pretty much just ended how it would have begun if Ned had died. Like, the Stark family took over. I'm like, so I didn't personally, but everyone watched like 6 seasons of this fucking thing to have it resolve itself from season 1 conflict. Got it. Okay.
Yeah. Well, I mean, at least take solace in the fact that everybody who watched it was like, this is not how it should have ended.
And that is why I've never picked it up. Yeah. People are like, you should watch it. I'm like, did you like the ending? No, then I'm not going to watch it.
Then the whole last season is garbage.
If George had finished his fucking books, then maybe.
Right. They wouldn't have had to made it up as they go. He still hasn't released that book yet.
So I mean, what's the point anymore?
He never will. Yeah. I guarantee you he'll never release it. He's like, you guys fucked it up. Everyone, it'll be like all these other things where like, we haven't gotten a third Amazing Spider-Man movie, and everyone's built it up as this amazing thing with Andrew Garfield. I'm like, look, I love Andrew Garfield, but until the movie's made, I don't know if it's good or bad.
Right.
And since we know we don't like one thing, we're going to love the thing that hasn't happened.
Yep.
Yeah.
So Gaia, as running away. So the whole scene where we learn where Talos, quote unquote,
Talos,
uses Nick instead of Fury. So the whole thing is they're going to the general's house that is in charge of of bombing this UN airplane, basically, from a submarine. So they go there to basically stop him. The idea is that Talos is going to turn into this guy, call them and be like, yo, don't do this. But of course there's a passcode, and we learned the passcode is his son. Very cute. But here's the part that's really confusing, because the Skrull version of Bob is like, don't hurt my son, don't hurt my son. But that's not his son. It's the real version of Bob's son, even though he has all of his memories. So maybe he carried over that sort of emotion.
Maybe.
But he was like, just don't kill my son. Like, he gives up the gun. He's like, just don't hurt my son. Don't hurt my son. And I was like, that's really interesting, because I was like, obviously he's a Skrull. Like, we learned he's just a Skrull. But I was like, this is really weird, because the kid is human.
Are you sure about that, though? Because literally everyone else on the compound was a Skrull. Every guard that they killed turned into a Skrull.
Yeah, but we saw human Bob because Gaia goes to human Bob's thing.
Oh,
and
true.
Can I get a little dark
and
for a
looks
second?
through all his memories.
They killed human Bob's son, and that is in fact a Skrull.
Or they copied human Bob's son as well. Yeah,
I mean, either one of those are plausible, and that's why I'm saying, like, we can't actually be sure that isn't the Skrull Bob's actual son.
Yeah, which also makes it even more fucked up, because Talos straight up assassinates him in front of the son.
Yeah.
Yeah, after he's like, are
Who's
you
on
going
the
to kill
other
my
side of
dad?
the room?
Well, depends on what
I
happens.
just got to talk
Yeah.
to him. I just got to talk to
Spoiler
him.
alert.
Bam,
Boom,
dead.
boom. Pew, pew, you're dead.
I thought that was odd too, because we know the kid is in the room.
Yeah.
But the kid, we just don't hear from the kid. Like, he doesn't say anything. He doesn't scream. He doesn't get up. He doesn't yell.
Yeah, he would totally
like,
have
literally.
started
He shoots him and just nothing happens.
It's weird too, because like there's the first episode scene where like Talos freaks out on Fury for killing another Skrull, and you're like, I said no. And then in this scene, like, he fights like hell to stop Fury from shooting Bob the Skrull. Even like definitely having a visceral reaction when Fury like kneecaps the guy with a shot.
Yeah.
And then turns around and just like gets baited into killing him anyway. And like that just seemed like a really odd character turn for Talos, after being like so adamant, like, I'm not going to be the one to kill our own people to make a point.
Yeah. So I have a question, and this may have been me not connecting the dots. When Talos leaves the museum, he bumps into somebody and drops a phone, and the guy picks up the phone and was like, I believe this is yours. I was like, okay, so this is a plant, right? Does that pay off at all?
It's Gaia.
Or did I miss it? That was Gaia
because she runs by the truck. The truck stops Gravik from getting there, and he hits the truck because he knows, I got to catch her right now. That's spy shit all over the place. But it's totally.
See, I did not make that
it's
connection.
Gaia.
Even 2-time through, I did not make that connection. I don't know if that was just like, I didn't see it right or something, but that also, I was like, so that's going to pay off later, but was it this episode that it paid off and I just missed it?
I had a hunch that was the case. I thought it was probably
pretty
Gaia.
Yeah,
but like,
I'm 99.9% sure it's Gaia. Yeah.
The only reason I wasn't sure that it was definitely Gaia is that like she sent the planted info as a text message and then hands him the phone.
She writes it as a text message and then hands him the phone that has the message on it. She like almost makes a
inefficient way to communicate.
Well, there's no paper trail, quote unquote, electronic paper trail sending the message.
Haven't they already been talking to each other via burner phones?
Yeah, she was using a burner.
He makes a point like to say that, Gaia is going through burner phones.
Yeah.
Like they very much say that. So that's why I'm like, it's really confusing. I think it's a matter of like how it was shot. I think it didn't lead to the 1+1, What
it could have been is her handing him a new burner to receive the message. Like she might have texted that burner phone and handed him the recipient phone because like he wouldn't necessarily have already had one on him, and or it wouldn't have been safe for her to text him while he's in the room with Gravik. Because we've seen that plenty of times in like higher and lower stakes situations where like someone gets a like very poorly timed text message. I mean, Michael, we saw that in
I was gonna say we just saw that in the film
for our next
film we just reviewed last week.
The female brain?
No, a movie called Shiva Baby, which is going to be coming out. I have to think about it. So this came out Monday. That'd be coming out this Sunday. Yeah.
Shiva Baby.
So for those listening, this Sunday, we're reviewing the movie Shiva Baby, by the way, which is streaming on Max. You can watch for free. So if you're the type of person that watches the movies before we record them, Shiva Baby, right on Max, but a situation happens where it's like, don't text the person in the room if you don't want anyone else to know.
Yep.
Shiva baby. Well, your podcast lives up to his name because I've never heard of that.
Hey, I hadn't literally until this morning, so
I'm excited.
Yeah,
I'll watch it.
I had seen like the posters and stuff like that, and then when we eventually sat down, I was like, I'm really glad we did.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah. Yeah, so I think that scene for me, I think the peanut butter and jelly didn't get made in the right order. The whole script writing, you got to watch put the peanut, it didn't work out for me. I think, and that's why I'm so confused about like the logistics of that scene. I think it was just missing a few extra seconds of visualization in the camera work to see her move and do everything, but. I believe it. I mean, that sounds right. It sounds right that that's what she did. But I also was like, nope, this is another Skrull. Like this is either a trap sent by Gravik or, like, I don't know. I was like, something is weird. Like this wasn't just a normal scene they put in there. Like it's something.
Yeah.
That's kind of what I thought too. And then when they make it a point to like show her so casually leaning against the car when Gravik gets to her, I'm like, okay, got it. That was Gaia making a handoff. I just didn't understand why she was handing off the phone until I connected the dots like 30 seconds ago.
Yeah. I mean, basically, yeah.
So Gravik has been very cool and collected throughout this series, yes? Why is he...
Yeah, minus his blowout to the council.
Sure, minus his blowout to the council.
But I mean, that was even minor. Yeah.
He's so mad at that picture at the beginning of the parlay. And I know he's not actually mad at the picture. He's mad at Talos, but it just... I didn't know what the direction and it's not like a lot of... They're getting really smart, Disney, Marvel... TV shows and having the same director for the whole thing. So it feels like a film, much like How I Met Your Mother, aside from maybe 6 or 7 episodes of the show, it was Pamela Fryman the entire time. So nobody ever did something you're like, that's very out of character because there's a new director. But that just felt very weird, very out of place for Gravik. Like he could have had the exact same lines, but like 30% less. Oh man, like he could have had the intensity, but it was showing too much of his intensity, I guess. Like
I didn't really understand the point of his like speech there, because he says like, look at all, there's all these statesmen, they're the one, in charge, but they're not us, like we're soldiers. And he's like mad at the idea of like capitalist, right? Like he's mad at like the figureheads that are, the presidents and the prime ministers that are ordering the war, because he's the soldier. He's not sitting in some tower like ordering it. But like, how does that relate? Because he's literally working with all of them.
Yeah, but he also he wanted to get under Talos's skin there, I think, because he says, the soldiers are fighting. The statesman, he points to the picture, and then he points at really quick, just gives a quick point to Talos and gives whatever dig he does to the statesman. So like he's kind of being like, yeah, you used to be a general, you used to be boots on the ground. Now you send people in to do your dirty work, and I hate you for it. Like it was that was a cool moment of acting. And I didn't catch it the first time, but when I watched it just before we recorded, I was like, oh, he's like statesman, including you little bastard.
Yeah.
Like,
it's the whole like, I've replaced you, old man sort of vibe is what he's going for. He's like, you're irrelevant now. I'm the future of our people. I'm fighting for us. I'm willing to spill blood. And you're not. You're just like all the rest of these politicians who will send others to do your dirty work. So Casey, I think you're spot on.
And I think that would have gone really well with what you were talking about earlier in the episode, where he brings all of the statesmen into that room, and if he offed all of them, that would make total sense. Ooh, there is something else I want to point out about that scene, something that we talked about last episode, and I think we talked about a first episode, about the Skrulls revealing themselves. Talos very specifically says, I'm going to out you. I'm going to show them I'm going to reveal that Skrulls are here.
Yeah.
I'm going to show them that Skrulls exist. And he's like, well, they're just going to go after you, which so naive of Talos to be like, no, they won't. Like, yes, they will.
Humanity
Like,
will accept us as the good ones. No, they won't.
No, see, we look exactly the same, but...
There's like no historical reference for that at all.
No.
Like there's in fact quite the evidence to the opposite.
Fury,
so very naive on his part, but
I still stand behind Fury's comment from episode 2 that like humanity's not ready for this shit.
Yeah.
Yep. And yeah, it's just like what I don't get, and obviously for narrative reasons, they're not going to off Talos, at least not in episode 3. But, like, I don't get why Gravik let him walk away. Like, Gravik has every reason to just put a stop to Talos's, like, interference now. And it's a classic villain thing with a monologue and then let someone go so you can see my great plan in action only to be thwarted. But, like, fucking why?
I don't understand why all the other Skrulls there got like up when Talos stood up in his chair real quick, went across the table at him. But when he stabbed him in the hand and then started to choke
by the throat,
and Gravik gives no sign to nope, just hang on a second.
Right.
It was I did not believe that moment at all. I needed was Gravik just to hold his hand up or put a finger up, something simple to or like kind of give a look around the room. But he's so focused on being choked to death that somebody should have come over and stopped him.
And he's clearly upset about it. Like when he's being choked, he's like, like he's not just sitting there taking it.
He's not like harder, Daddy.
Get it. So I actually do have a couple of notions with that scene because like the initial reaction of all the other Skrulls turning feels like that's the moment of demonstrating to Talos like, no, you are alone here. Mm-hmm. You are not going to get away with something if you try it here. But then I think the end of that scene is more of a demonstration that Gravik was never really in danger at all. And like I feel like we can probably assume that his followers know that he is doing something to make them more powerful. And like nobody really is that shocked when his hand heals and he's just like shakes it off. So I think that the reason nobody jumps to his aid is because they know that Talos can't actually hurt him or is not at least going to hurt him in that moment. Because if Gravik had wanted to, he could have like it seemingly with the power that he has could have ended that situation real quick.
Sure.
I think one of the parts about this that I think this is for the first 3 episodes in general is, and I think this is a fault of the writers and the creators, is we see Gravik's army, we see his strongholds, we see him taking care of people. Where are the people on Talos' side?
Right.
Where are they? Like, why is he so... Because my thought was he didn't kill Talos right then and there because he didn't want all of Talos' followers to turn against him. And that's why he's got to kind of keep them alive, because if he does, then it's Skrull versus Skrull war. But if he can win Talos over, which feels like what he's trying to do, he's trying to get Talos to submit, then all of Talos' followers will follow. But the problem is, where the frick are the followers? Like we haven't seen any of them yet, so we don't have an idea of forces.
And that's the thing, is like Talos tells us that they're everywhere, that there's at least a million of them. And you figure like, obviously some of them have joined Gravik's ranks. We don't know how many. We can presume that it's probably in the hundreds or maybe thousands tops, because there's only so many places that they can hide in these, splinter cells. But like, presumably a lot of them are just going to be fucking neutral and be like, no, we're good. We don't want to fight.
We've been here 30 years. We're good. Like, we've integrated.
Talos seems to feel like he's got a fair number of them on his side, because he's implying that like we will win despite your efforts, Gravik. And we collectively, the Skrulls living on Earth. So like you make a great point. Where are they? Who are they? Wow. Yeah,
because right now the we is like him and Fury, because they're the only 2 people actually doing anything about it. Now Gaia's dead. This is it. So I'm like, how threatening are you? It's just 2 old guys. Like,
and I think
you're not exactly threatening.
I think this is a very Winter Soldier-esque thing. Like, at the end of Winter Soldier, when you think all is lost, surprise, Nat's been the delegate the whole time, and Fury has the other way into the thing by his scarred eye and all that cool spy shit that ends up at the end. I'm hoping they're giving us all these false flags, and that in the end they're gonna be like, no, this is the plan, because the Ali, what was his last name? The creator of the show,
Ali Salim,
has said that there is a surprise Skrull coming, and I'm hoping it's not anyone that we've like Rhodey or anyone that we've kind of sussed out is a Skrull. I hope there's a genuine twist to a Skrull, like it's one of the Avengers.
The only person I could see him referencing, if it's somebody we've already met, is Fury. Fury's the only one, which again would lead to why we see Fury in the Marvels coming up soon, is because he never left the space station, which is why he was limping, which is why whatever.
Or is it Hill? Because why did we get to see Hill get shot again at the beginning? Why they keep reminding us that she's been shot?
If they didn't
talk about it this episode. That was when she showed up in the pre-roll. I was like, alrighty.
Is she coming back?
It's interesting. Right. Robin showed up there.
Yeah, right.
Robin. And like, here's the other possibility is that, maybe the Fury on Earth right now is a Skrull, or maybe the Fury that we see in the Marvels is a Skrull that just takes his place.
Yeah, I mean, if I would struggle with that one, but that's very possible.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they could be, maybe Fury is down on Earth and still dealing with Secret Invasion, and some Skrull up there is like, shit, I got to be Fury because here comes Captain Marvel or something.
And Kamala Khan.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh my god, I cannot wait.
God, you're Fury.
Yeah. Is this an Avengers recruitment?
I love her so much.
So what do we think? Predictions for episode 4. So typically episode 4 is always the huge reveal thing of all these Marvel shores. It's always, the 2/3 mark.
Yeah, 4 is always big. 5 is like, this could have not been an episode. And then 6 is like, oh my God, we have so much to finish. Go, go, go.
Yeah.
And like, you enjoy it, but you're also like, some of this could have ended up in the last episode, to not make it all just go at the end. I mean, I like your theory that Rhodey's not actually a Skrull. He's maybe he was a Skrull, and then they captured the Skrull, and now he's like double agenting it, being like, no, I'm still blah blah blah.
I'm still the Skrull.
The Skrull pretending to be Rhodey, but it's actually just Rhodey the whole time. That'd be pretty cool.
I feel like him and Vara are up to something. They're up to something, and it's not just Gravik. Like they're not in cahoots with Gravik. I think they're up to something in relating to Gravik.
I don't think Vara is. I'm hoping she's not a double agent. I hope she's not going behind Fury, because that'd just be silly.
I mean, she does kind of give reason to do so, where she's like, you've been gone the past 10 years. What have I been doing? I've been being me. And what do we know her to be? An agent.
And a botanist,
she was that,
apparently, by that cool basement she had.
Yeah, right. But, we know that she was basically a spy from the get-go,
right?
Recruiting people. So, because we saw that in episode 2. So maybe, I don't know.
Maybe she's got the army.
Maybe.
Again, I'm so hesitant to make any predictions, but just knowing the formatting, I mean, like you said, it's going to be episode 4 of a 6-part. So like we're in the end of Act 2, and that's usually when shit really goes down. So I feel like the stakes have to get really high in this episode coming up in order for there to be something to resolve in Act 3 without it being a frantic dash to establish plot. And like now, in the first half, we've still really only like established the players and the general premise. We haven't established the stakes beyond like Gravik saying like, no, we're going to kill humanity and just live here. But like, shit has to get really bad, and I think that the only prediction I'll make for episode 4 is that it's probably going to really, really fucking dark.
Yeah,
he's hoping.
Yeah, I predict Gaia comes back in one form or another. I assume she's probably going to be on Gravik's side plant, but we'll see.
I'm wondering. So we everyone knows in universe and out of universe that when Skrulls die, if they're in human form, they revert.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
She got hit. He didn't hit her to kill, but she reverts to Skrull to make him think she's dead.
That she died.
Also, that was very clearly not Emilia Clarke in that Skrull makeup. I'm like, that's some random actress. That's not her at all.
I wonder if I guess we see him drive away, but I was gonna say, I wonder if he takes her body and puts her through the Super Skrull thing to like bring her back to life.
I totally thought the drive away, because it stayed so long in that driveway, it was going to be her popping back up and being like, I'm okay. But
I was kind of waiting for that, but like that also touches on like my other big pet peeve so far is that they don't seem to be doing anything about the bodies that they're just leaving laying around. And like the whole like it's a secret invasion, y'all. You've got to keep it a secret. And leaving dead alien bodies just laying around where like someone is probably not going to go wandering down this road towards this abandoned nuclear Russian power plant. Mm-hmm. But like somebody fucking could. You know, one of the like Chernobyl fucking ghost hunters is gonna wander through that. Like you see that shit all the time on YouTube. Someone's gonna YouTube themselves stumbling across like a dead Skrull body in the woods, and it's gonna be a whole fucking conspiracy. Well, no, that won't actually happen. But like it could, and it annoys me. And it just demonstrates like Gravik like not really like maybe having the focus to ensure no loose ends, because one, he doesn't make sure that she's dead, and then he just leaves the body there. Like that's either sloppy or it's intentional.
Well, I don't know if you know this about Skrulls, but they're big fans of the band Drowning Pool.
Oh,
let the bodies hit the floor. Let the bodies hit the.
Yeah, but afterwards clean them up.
Terrible.
I regret nothing. And obviously not big fans of the John Wick series. You always go for the headshot.
Yeah.
Even if you get him a center chest mask.
I mean, Zombieland double tap.
Double tap.
Like,
you got to do the double tap.
Yeah.
If you haven't seen...
There are several movies about this.
John Wick 4, there are a couple headshots that he double headshots. I'm like, I think they're dead, John.
You know what? But like
wasting
John
bullets
Wick,
at this point.
he fucking makes sure. Like he confirms his kills. Gravik doesn't.
He's like, I did my job. I shot her once. It's good.
I'm sure it's fine.
She's totally dead.
Shot in the chest. People never survive from that.
Then she shows up and he's like, I did not see this coming.
Oh boy. All right. So episode 4 is coming up soon.
Yeah.
Hey guys, thanks for watching and listening to this one. We super appreciate it. So yet again, for those of you, if you aren't subscribed yet to the Never Heard of It podcast, hit subscribe. We review indie movies and movies you've likely never heard of every single Sunday. We've been doing it for 5 years. Never missed a Sunday, over 5 years in running. And this Sunday, we are talking about the movie Shiva Baby on Max. So definitely check that one out. So thanks a lot for joining us, everyone. Casey, thank you very much for coming on again. If people want to find you on the interwebs, where can they find you?
I am not going to join Threads because I can't keep up. There's too many of them. But on my main one, there's actually not a main one, but if you want to get in touch with me, we have a Gmail for the podcast. It is superpodherocast@gmail.com because only Cap writes letters. Tony, gotta do it by myself. Todd's not here. And if you're in the Syracuse area, July 29th, if you want to come down to Bullfinch Brew Pub, got it on the first take, Todd.
Yes.
Suck it. In Destiny, USA. Come on down. We're going to do Nerd Debate live. Nerd Debate 5 is happening July 29th, 7:30.
Exciting.
Spectacular. And of course, you can find Bree and I on Threads because we did join it and I'm actually enjoying it so far.
Same.
It's like Twitter, but everybody's really chill.
That's what I hear, but I can't jump on another one.
Yeah. So you can find us, Bree, you're Sabrina Buckets on Threads, and I am Michael Fight on Threads. So definitely check us out there. Nice. Thanks a lot for joining us, everyone. We super appreciate it. We will see you on Sunday.